All right, so there are a lot of credit card offerings, but there isn't a specific credit card just for automotive expenses. And for somebody like me that spends a lot of money on my cars, it can be valuable to have a card that has pretty good returns on automotive spending generally. So things that I'm talking about in terms of automotive expenses include, of course, spending money at the gas station for gas or fuel to put into your car, or EV charging if you have a Tesla, unfortunately. Other things that are included in this gas and automotive category in terms of automotive expenses generally will be things like washing your car. If you're like me, you wash your car literally every week because I have to keep my M3 clean, and especially because it's black, it doesn't look good when it's not clean. Now, that also includes things like auto repair. Because it is a BMW, it's broken all the time. And if I don't have the time to fix it myself, I have to take it to a shop. Or if I don't have the tools, taking it to the shop makes more sense. So auto repair is another category that often becomes a major expense for me. Another thing is auto parts stores. Okay, so AutoZone, Advanced Auto, places like that, where you're going to buy your auto parts if you're fixing your car yourself. And then finally, if I'm going somewhere, doing a 7-Eleven photo shoot, it makes sense to go inside the convenience store to buy something, whether it's a snack or a meal or just something at the convenience store at a gas station. That can be an expense as well. So the reason I mention all those is because these are the things we're going to consider as the automotive expenses for the purposes of this video. Now, as you guys are probably aware, there are credit cards that have pretty good returns in terms of gas, okay? Now we're talking about specifically fuel, right? So you've probably heard of, the Costco credit card. It currently has 5x back or 5% back in terms of cashback rewards at Costco gas stations, which is great. But something I've come across recently is merchant category codes, and looking into my statements a little bit deeper to see how the transactions are actually coded by the credit card issuer in terms of, for our purposes, how it's categorized in terms of the rewards points. So I'm going to reference this article from Stripe because it's pretty good in explaining how merchant category codes work. And specifically for our purposes, what it does is it defines how a purchase is categorized for a particular transaction for that particular credit card issuer. So you'll see down here the MCC list, and we have transportation services as between $4,000 to $4,799. Now, there isn't a specific number here that's listed for car expenses or automotive. And we'll notice that if you look into your statement, which I'll show you guys here. So if I look down into my statement for my Costco credit card, okay, we'll see that for this purchase at Costco Gas, Kailua Kona, it shows as vehicle services. Okay, that's the spend category. Here it shows an automated gas dispenser. Now the same goes for this gas station in Hawaii that shows as vehicle services. Now, I want to show you guys something on my Capital One credit card, which is what I normally use for all expenses that are not captured by one of the credit cards I already have in terms of optimizing an expense. So that being, like a dining expense, a restaurant, like dining out, travel, rental car, things like that, where I have a specific credit card for that purchase. So in my Capital One statement, you'll see here that there is a charge for O'Reilly Auto Parts, as I just mentioned, okay? So we'll see here that this is a gas and automotive expense, okay? Buying something from an auto parts store is not what you would consider a gas expense, but the way it's categorized by the merchant category code means that you would get the same multiplier as you would for a gas expense on the same credit card. Now, this is not full stop always going to be the case. If you spend $10,000 on upgrading your SRT Viper, into a twin turbocharged Calvo Motorsports situation, you might not get the same multiplier, and this is not a guaranteed thing. But depending on how the merchant categorizes that transaction, you can get the same multiplier, which for the purposes of this video, that being the best credit cards for gas and automotive expenses, can be a good thing. You'll see here that Best Washes, which is the second expense here, is also categorized as gas and automotive. Okay, that's pretty important because if you wash your car every week like me, you spend a decent amount of money on car washes, and I wouldn't put that on my Venture X, which is only a 2X, versus my my Costco credit card, which gives me 4X back on everything gas expenses that are not purchased at Costco in terms of gas, or automotive expenses rather. Shout out to my boy Chris at M3 Motorworks. If I have something on my M3 that I don't know how to fix or don't trust myself to do, I would take it there. And it's, again, not a gas expense. This is an automotive shop, okay? It's a repair shop. And so that's an expense that, once again, this $400 charge that I put on my Venture X at only 2x for in terms of the multiplier, I would much rather be putting that on a card that has 4x or 5x, which is now sort of the standard for kind of automotive, or rather gas cashback cards. So with that out of the way, hopefully that explains to you guys the merchant category code situation, which can basically classify expenses that are not specifically gas charges as a gas expense, essentially. Let's look into some of the cards that are good for this sort of purchase. And this will be quick because the options are mostly cashback cards that most everybody has that are pretty good options. So the first one here is going to be the Costco Rewards credit card. Okay, this is a card that I have and that I can vouch for because I spend a lot of money at Costco, especially at the gas station, because I like to take pictures of my car there. Joking aside, I actually do go to Costco all the time to buy things as well. But it definitely makes sense to have the Costco Rewards credit card. It's a no-brainer if you have a Costco membership already, because you get 5% back on gas at Costco. It also helps that Costco has literally the cheapest gas like anywhere. And so, okay, maybe not the cheapest gas, but of the top tier detergent gasoline, which is a code you should look for if you're a car person, do not be putting any low quality gas in your car. Costco has high quality gas, and that's what you want to be putting in your car, right? So 5% back on gas at Costco. This 4x back on all other eligible gas and EV charging. This would be what would be categorized as a gas/automotive expense somewhere else. Costco credit card, kind of a no-brainer. That's my favorite credit card right now to use for kind of automotive expenses, specifically for gas right now, but in the future I would use for testing to see if it'll work at auto repair shops and auto parts stores and stuff like that. I did want to make a quick note here about the Executive Club membership and how it's worth it if you have over a certain threshold of spend. This kind of chart here is very useful for that. I'll probably make a video separately about this specifically, but essentially, if you're spending over $3,500 a year, then it makes sense to have the executive membership because it's $60 and your annual reward would be $65, so it's a wash. So that's just a quick note about the Costco executive membership, which, I am an executive member. Okay. I was going to show you guys this because if you spend any decent amount of money on like a washer dryer or tires at Costco or anything like that, it counts towards your annual 2% bump on the cash back. The good part about this 2% reward for the executive club is that, or the executive membership, is that it's on top of the multiplier you already get for shopping at Costco. So this 2% back shopping at Costco, you'd get 4% back, which is good. So the second best one is probably what most people recommend if you don't drive too much, if you don't drive across country all the time like I do. That would be the City Custom Cash card. This is one that personally don't have right now, but it's something I've been meaning to get for a long time because it's a 0 annual fee card. It's literally a no-brainer as long as you can keep to a specific spending category and spending just on that every statement, you get the 5% back, which is essentially 5% off any of the entire spending category that would otherwise be 1% or something like that. The next one on the list would be the USA Cashback Rewards card. So I've had this for quite a while, just because when I first went on active duty, I was like, I should probably get a USA credit card because it's a good idea, because it has good 5% back on military bases, but it also has 5% back on gas stations, which I feel like is not really a key selling point of the card, but if more people knew about it, maybe they would use it. It is an Amex branded product, which is cool. And it's only up to $3,000 in combined gas and military installation purchases each year. And so more than likely you're spending more than that on those combined purchases, especially if you live on a base or something. But it can be a good option to at least max out that 5% spend if you haven't already. The next one here would be the Blue Cash Everyday card from American Express. This is one that I think personally I would get the Blue Cash Preferred, which is like the next level up, which has an annual fee because you get 6% back at supermarkets, which can be useful. But the point here for this video is the 3% back at gas stations, which is the same for both the no annual fee card as well as the one with an annual fee. This one's capped at $6,000 a year, which is a little bit more, which is a good thing, especially for those of you that maybe spend a little bit more on gas once you've tapped out one of your other cards that has a cap on it, then this one can make sense as well. The last one I want to mention is the Venmo credit card. This is sort of a newer concept card, but 3% back on gas is from your top eligible category, kind of like the City Custom Cash. And so in that sense, it can make sense, but also because there is no limit to your 3% back. So that's great. If you spend $10,000 a month on gas or automotive expenses that are categorized as such, it also doesn't matter because it's your top spending category, whatever that is, you're getting 3% back, which is pretty great. Venmo has a easy interface, as you guys probably know that they use Venmo, and generally I would say it's a good option. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward for your gas and automotive expenses. I mainly wanted to explain to you guys the merchant category codes, which is how the merchants categorize your expenses or your transactions on your card. And it's worth giving it a shot to see if you are a car person and you spend a lot of money like I do on my cars, trying to see if your other automotive expenses could be categorized as kind of that gas or automotive spending category for your point multiplier for any of the cards on the video or otherwise. I would say that, you know, if you're using an Amex Plat to pay for your car repairs, that's fine, but you're only getting a 1x back. And so generally I would just use my Venture X for everything else, but because of kind of the merchant category code situation that I figured out, I'll probably try and use some of the gas rewards cards to at least tap those out before I go back to the 2x on everything. So hopefully you guys got some value out of the video. If you did, or if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below, and appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.